Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another spooky, scary episode of the Dual Screens. I'm sorry, the Dual Screams podcast. and if that pun didn't make you run away in just total cringe and disgust, my guests are still here, thankfully.
Just
So, with joining me this week is the entire Negative Entities crew. I got three siblings, developers of The Lunar Effect, a retro horror puzzle game complete with tank controls and fixed cameras. What a concept.
original, I know.
Yes, and inspired by the art styles of Resident Evil and Silent Hill. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Very good. It's,
All right.
over here in Europe, it's more of an evening, so I'm
Yeah.
winding down for the day.
So we got a packed house. We got Louis, Harry, and Jake Woodhouse on the show. This is incredible. When I heard that last name, my first thought was Rosemary's Baby.
I've only seen that once.
Yeah.
Oh my
something
God.
to do with it, isn't it?
I think I've seen that film. I can recite, I think, the entire script at this point. Because
Oh wow.
it was one of my very few like VHS movies I had as a kid, and it was just I think I wore that thing out playing it over and over.
For me and
again.
Louis, that was Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
We watched the shit out of that
Oh, God,
Good
yeah.
choice.
over
All
summer
right,
holidays
so
and
this-
such.
Yeah, nothing scarier than Jar Jar Binks. All right. So I think we should, before we dive into what the game is, I want to find out a little about you guys, what your roles are. So let's start with Harry.
Sure.
What do you do for this project?
So I am main narrative lead, and I also do mainly focusing on the story aspect, the characters, events in the game, and also work alongside Jake and also, of course, Louis with the designs, with things like puzzles, with layouts of levels, what we expect, and upcoming things like cutscenes and general design principles.
And Louis, what is your role in this machine that is Negative Entities?
I am I'm the art. I do artists. I do all the 3D modeling, lighting, all that kind of stuff. And I'm also a programmer. So I
He's the engine
also
room.
make it work. Yeah, basically that's probably a good description.
Bring all this shit to life, basically.
Yeah, I
Pretty
make
much the
it.
glue.
I'm the one who goes, wait, this needs to be something that could work, that exists. This needs to be a game, not an idea.
How to make it, yeah.
Mm.
And I guess I'll introduce myself.
Yes.
So I'm Jake. I'm the eldest of the three of us. And I originally came on just doing music because in my life up until now, I've made music for a living until COVID, obviously. But COVID was a good opportunity to kind of delve into some other projects. Me and Louis had always talked about, like, because Louis's always been fascinated by video games since he was a kid, and he kind of progressed through that career and started actually doing it, and we'd always talked about doing stuff. Harry at the same time was doing it, and these two kind of paired off for a while, and then I kind of jumped back in and I had my own kind of renaissance of things a few years ago with video games, and I started out doing the music for the demo, but in the process of trying to understand more about like what was going on with the story and the layout and everything like that, in order to make the music fit well enough, I ended up getting so much more fascinated with the process as well. Like Harry says, so in the video game dev kind of terms of things, I'm very much a noob in this stuff, but I'm happily learning, helping out where I can. I kind of, at the moment, until I kind of learn some more, I'm kind of in like editing. I kind of say I come in and kind of try to make things coherent from a different, add in another voice. But yeah, I'd say that's the three. Yeah.
Yeah, you picked a hell of a genre to do music for, because I think when it comes to horror and setting the right atmosphere and tone, music is like up there in sound with any kind of graphics or assets. So kudos to you for taking that.
I think in my head,
task on.
I was either always going to be a horror game that I was going to do music for, or some sort of sci-fi game. To me, because I make techno music, so I still do. I keep saying I used to, but I guess I technically still do. But this has been my my biggest focus these days.
So whose baby is this? Who did this spring from first, and then
I was going to point on the screens, but I don't know which way it's going to come out. I would say it's Louis and Harry. Louis initially. Louis is kind of the brainchild.
I was, because I worked as a video game artist professionally for a few years now at a studio in UK, Firesprite, which was it was cool. It was in the news recently. Acquired. It's now a first party Sony.
They were just on the show. We're talking about
oh really?
Oh my God, Persistence. It almost left my brain. Yeah.
Oh, that's super weird.
I was talking to Scott. Yeah, Scotty. He's a good guy.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to do your research.
God, every time I get a guest on show, it's a little bit smaller, the game dev world, I feel.
It is. It definitely is.
It is a very small world.
Well, yeah, I work, as you definitely know, I work at that studio, and I spend so much of my time just working on portfolio stuff always, and thinking about how I can get better positions and move up and etc. And once I kind of found this place and I was so happy with it, for the first time I kind of finally was like, I could just use that time in my spare time, but make something that I want to make instead. And it was just around then that the haunted PS1 demo disc first came out, that I'd seen some bits of like PS1 style indie games come out, and it was starting to float in my mind. But once that hit, I was like, I think that's what I want to do, because
this is the catalyst, you could say.
Yeah, exactly. That made me start going, I think I could do this. This could be fun, and it's the fun break between like more AAA graphics in the day, and then I get to come and get really nuanced and really weird about it, which is especially been fun for me, because a bunch of the senior staff, some of my friends at work, have worked on like Wipeout and other PS1 games themselves, and they're all like, why do you care about PS1? Why do you want to? It was a nightmare. It was horrible to work on. I'm like, I don't know, but I want to.
Nostalgia, I guess.
Exactly. And so because of that, Harry was trying to get another design job at the time, and I was like, let's work on this project together, and that can we can all kind of help each other move forward.
Yeah, it was to add to my kind of portfolio at the time, because at the time I didn't really have much to go into the route I wanted to, and so we thought this was going to be like a 5-minute game or 10-minute.
It was very different when you first pitched it. It was super different to where it ended up.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
and we basically were partially making it that, and then I happened to land the job midway of us making it, and we went, might as well carry on. Might as well just keep going. And that was by the time of when the demo disc was like an idea coming out, and it was just moving the hurdles little bit by little bit until kind of where we are now, basically.
I basically had a golden goose given to me that by the time I was brought onto it, they'd already done a year of pre-production of everything. So it was mostly kind of done by the time I got involved. So now we're moving into proper pre-production. I'm seeing what I missed out on.
Yeah, exactly. A whole lot of workflows and planning and etc.
A lot of work. A lot of work. Especially
because a lot of the time we'll kind of plan something, kind of make something, and then be like, okay, it'll be kind of like this, but not just only a little bit more. But then we would some people would play it, we'd play it, and we'd be like, this is really cool though, actually. And then kind of build it a bit more, and and until we're very sure we're like, I think this is something that's really exciting. Something we think we want to go full the distance and go through the full indie journey.
There's something that's so charming about PS1 style graphics. It's
Mm.
is it someone's face? Is it a pile of mud? You really can't tell sometimes what's
Absolutely.
going on. Things are just abstract and obscure enough where it lets your mind do a lot of the guesswork to fill in the blanks as to what you're really seeing. And
Mm.
that lends itself so perfectly to the horror genre.
Absolutely. I mean, just like the old films that made like in people's garages with like barely any money, you know, with all kinds of terrible fake blood and stuff. It's all that kind of spirit of like, oh, you know, if we just make it dark and grainy, we can, you know, we can. The audience will fill in the gaps, and yeah.
Libby is very much the what's the word? The flag holder for the PS1 style thing. Like I say, he brought us into this. Myself and Harry, me and Louis really grew up during that era of PS1 games, and I do love that era completely. But I think I'd say me and Harry we didn't really mind what we made. We kind of were happy making stuff. I think there is something to be said about the fact that it's a lot, I want to say, easier to make instead of you're not making AAA stuff. But Louis does put in a lot of work to give it that old feel, like the differing stuff,
right?
Which kind of really adds the salt on the top.
Yeah,
but me and Harry usually have it on pixelation off.
I have complete pixelation off. I want to see what I'm actually seeing.
It kills me.
I didn't grow up in that era, so and it wasn't my kind of thing.
I always have it on, but I feel like at this point I kind of have to. Otherwise, someone's got to test it on.
No, I like it. I do. It gives us a like kind of, I don't know, with music and stuff, it's always like this idea that you make the most interesting stuff and you give yourself these certain different rules to follow and you stick by. And I think it's an interesting one because I'm not against it at all. I do like it, and it makes it challenging. So we're like currently coming up with like cutscenes and stuff like that now, where we have to suddenly go, well, okay, this is how we're going to make this look as cool as we're envisioning it with our 21st century minds right now, but in a PS1 style.
Yeah, and the game, it looks like a end of life PS1 game that really knew what the hardware could do graphically.
Yeah, I definitely push it.
yeah.
It's something like inspiration. It's why we call it inspired.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's also when you first start the demo and it shows you a nice little PS1 controller saying, "Oh, use a gamepad." I'm like, "Oh my god!" It's like it really sends you back like 20 years.
And that screen, we spent so long over that screen.
Over button layouts and
oh my word! Like, it's funny. I didn't realize. I look at games now. I play completely differently because I see how you can get caught up over the strangest things that you never would have guessed.
Arguments about whether square is interact or X is interact.
That is actually a good question. That is, we've recently been having this argument of whether square is interact or X is interact to most people. And I'm interested to see, what would you say? Would you say square is interact or X?
I think I go more for an X.
That's fair.
That's
fair. Yeah. But you have come across square as interact, or did we just imagine this? Because I'm starting to think maybe.
I'm thinking back to like Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, Silent Hill on PS1. What was the configuration? I'm pretty sure it was like
actually Louis smiling.
I know exactly what it was.
I think square is to run. Hold square to run, and then X is to pick up shit, open doors.
So half the people here is Team X, half the people here are Team Square.
Yeah,
half of us are wrong, half of us are right, but we'll leave it there.
It could
to
be
me,
like
X is select.
It could be like the
interact.
Mandela effect. You know, maybe you thought it was square. You remembered a square growing up.
I just need to get a lawyer or something, get together some like. Okay, here's my documentation and my official square is the interact button. Yeah, so, I don't know. It's funny little things like this.
What is this game? What is Lunar Effect? What can you tell us about this?
I think Harry's the most qualified person to answer this question.
I guess so as a game, it's like a psychological horror puzzle kind of game, and then like a brief overview of what it's going to be is the player finds himself suddenly in this mysterious mansion, and as they progress through this house, they find that there's puzzles laid out, and there's some sort of vague story starting to form, and a mystery of how you got here. And as they go through, they kind of realize that not everything is as it seems, and the roots of the story of this house go far deeper than what is to be expected. And that's really all I can give away about it, because it's a story where it's one of those stories where as soon as you learn the little bit of detail of what you're going into, it starts to unravel. So you can only really give away the premise of it so far.
Yeah, I have to be careful because I'm so excited about it. It's hard not to talk about stuff sometimes.
Yeah,
of course.
But it's definitely, I don't think you could get a clear idea of where it's going based on the demo. Let's just say that.
Yes. Yeah. Demo is kind of like a very much a teaser of what to expect, but very much a drop in the ocean.
Now, is this strictly a puzzle game, or can we expect any sort of combat like the old school Resident Evil
question
games of the PS1 days?
Louis, do you want to drop a little bit about that?
Yeah, Louis?
An ideology about why we've chosen a certain route?
There will be no combat in the game. It was a very conscious decision, thinking about, so I wanted to kind of, feel like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, but in terms of a lot of thematically, I was thinking more Silent Hill. Obviously, Resident Evil wouldn't be Resident Evil without combat. It's zombies after all. But like with Silent Hill, I really drew me in with the atmosphere and the characters, etc., and the puzzles. But I always felt like the big letdown in any Silent Hill game is the combat. It's always mediocre, and I've always thought, like, what would they have done if they didn't like live in an era where it was like every game has to have combat? That's the people upstairs would be like, it has to have combat. There's no way around it, because it doesn't feel like it was really like something they connect with as much. And so it made me think about how it would be interesting to try to make a game like that, but without relying on just generic combat.
Yeah, it's one of the, going back to what I said before about the challenges that we set ourselves, is to kind of instill that fear in other ways, instead of just kind of going, oh my God, it's coming at you, you just got to unload your shotgun shells into its face. We haven't even, it's funny because so far we've been coming up with some ideas for things, and at first when you set yourself these challenges, you get a bit worried, go, okay, well, this is all based on the idea that we come up with something. But as we've been naturally going through, it's kind of all made sense so far, I would say. We've never really had to kind of go, right, how the hell are we going to do this in this moment? It's kind of, as Harry's been writing the story and we've been fleshing it out, each moment feels kind of like it naturally goes in. And we also don't want it to be just like, you're running and stop, now you've got to do a little ball puzzle. That doesn't make sense. We're going to try and keep it.
That was a big part of writing it, in terms of coming up with not everything being just a straight puzzle. And that was everything can be a puzzle, but not a classic puzzle, as Rubik's Cube, but it's a saw trap or something in the middle of the floor.
Right.
And it's creating, and a big ideology is creating tension, and different ways of creating tension, whether that be through time limits, through other things kind of coming at you, and different varying of tensions that way, and creating puzzles which aren't typical puzzles, so to speak. So that's a big part of it, is evasions, and so it's discovering certain things and just being creative and trying to do as many different things as possible without having a shotgun in your hand.
One thing we actually learned from the demo process, actually, sorry, I'll let you carry on instantly, was the part of, we were very lucky that when we got the demo together, we actually finished it with more than enough time, which gave us loads of time to do a lot of testing with people that we knew, friends and whatever. And in that process, we kind of not discovered, because it was always there, but we realized the value of like doing puzzles that weren't so much like riddle me this or whatever. It was like a case of manually do something, and I think that kind of helped inspire us a bit. Sorry, Louis, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, as much as obviously thinking about how doing the non-combat based gameplay and puzzles and stuff, but at the same time, something I wanted to make sure we always avoid as well is going more of the, like the amnesia route of like hide in the cupboard every 5 minutes and hopefully wait and not just have a death sequence and okay again, because I've always found part of that is just it's a tough mechanic to engage with for a full length of a game, which is why I've kind of in some ways fallen slightly out of love of games like that now, especially on repeat plays. And at the same time, like feeling like oh no, my mind went blank.
It happens.
But yeah, just like just varying, not
keeping it varied and not too samey, basically.
Yeah, finding the balance between the two, so it's not like always, especially that was it, because sometimes I've always found that I'm most scared and like, oh, it's something that might catch me or etc. But then it does, and then it's like, okay, that's what happens, and then suddenly the fear drains out, and it's like, okay, it just a death screen is what happens.
Right.
And
I look to games like Clock Tower, which have no direct combat with that thing that's pursuing you while you play, and it has that balance of there's something chasing me, but it gives me enough time to enjoy the world, and then you have sprinkled in moments that kind of give you a little bit of fear. It's not just I gotta go in a closet, this thing's gonna stab me, okay, I'm safe now, I can go back to exploring. Oh fuck, it's back again. That could get kind of tiresome in that scenario. But if you leave enough room where I can enjoy the world, where I can see what's going on, get a sense of the lore, and sort of like fall into it, and then shit, there's this thing that's also out here that's following me, pursuing me. That's how you can make in a non-combat scenario.
Absolutely. And not to give too much of a hint of things to come, but Clock Tower is definitely another inspiration. Of,
it's been brought up in meetings, that's for sure. Because also Harry is, for example, is written, everything that's written in the demo and everything is written by Harry. And there was some really great stuff, and it's funny, like I said, this is my first experience making a game, and it was so funny kind of like watching people play and just being like, oh, they're all missing the best interact. Like there's an interact which we have in the corridor where you can actually like,
I'm so annoyed about this.
We really like it. It's a shot of the character looking up at the paintings, and everyone always just runs past.
Each painting has its own interact, and it says who it's by and the name of the painting and a comment on it. I've yet to see a single person interact with them.
Yeah,
in any gameplay.
You need me in your focus group. I'm always about what's happening behind me. I'm always
become my favorite player.
Gotta like press square against everything to interact, right, guys?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right answer.
Yeah, but we
it's interesting in terms of writing this is something that you have to constantly check up on yourself is pacing, and especially in a horror game, is pacing is incredibly important, because like you were saying, these rise and falls of tension moments, have it too frequently and it loses its effect. It just becomes more, you're not as scared anymore. Having it too in between, it's good. It can create more like, oh, it's going to happen now, but then it can just dull and it just nothing happens. So it's striking that real balance between the two, and tension and pacing is two of the key words I say for writing.
An interesting part about the demo actually as well is just showed me how much that your scenario and your setting can put so much in the mind of the player without you having to say anything. For example, we have a moment in the game where you complete a puzzle and then you hear a window break in the distance, and I can't remember exactly when, but we saw someone playing it, or a few people playing it, and then they were all like, what's in here with me now? Oh, there's something in here. And it's so funny how you get so like tracked with what you're doing. We just wanted people to go to another room at the end of the day. We were like, we just want to get them out of the room and go to another place to find that there's some other stuff going on. And it's crazy how you can actually end up making things more scary than you even intended. And I think so far that's where it goes. And Harry's very good at creating a world at the moment. And I think, as he said, I'm kind of there to kind of make sure it's as refined as possible.
Yeah, sanity check it basically.
Yeah.
Because
So it doesn't get
if I had
too
a choice,
lofty.
it would be a film, So
Yeah, we have this
unify it in
discussion a
some ways.
lot. If it was up to Harry, he writes things, and then I have to come in and go, right, but how are we going to play this? How are we going to actually do this? And how is the player going to experience this? And that's where I take Harry's stuff. I guess I'm kind of almost a middleman, but not really. I kind of take Harry's stuff, and then I go, okay, this seems good. Louis, can you actually do this? And can you go back and now rewrite everything so that we can do this new idea that we have? That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, definitely a good middleman. Because if it was up to me, it would be the most meticulous, like PS1 style game that would be so perfectly accurate, and 10 people would love it. And,
and Louis would be so happy with that.
Exactly. So Harry would make a perfect film, and that's one of the good things. I think we really do work well together, and we really do bounce off each other very nicely to find a perfect middle ground.
We're such great brothers.
It turns out.
We're never at each other's throats.
Yeah, I feel we've definitely been at each other's throats, but that's part of the fun of it. But yeah, like Louis said, if it was up to Louis, he'd make a game that was very specific for a small amount of people. And I think also similar for Harry. Harry has a very specific thing he wants to do. I kind of try to do my best to come in and kind of bring the both of two worlds and kind of go, yeah, but have you thought about that this is what they might feel in this moment, or this is what they might think? Not so much, I'm not writing things so much, but I'm trying to really be the player as much as I can at times. I think it also comes from not working in the industry as well so much. I mean, we all grew up in the same kind of environment of loving video games growing up, and these two went in very similar ways. I went off in a different way, but I still always loved it. It was always the thing that brought us all together. So I do have that love of it, but I also maybe, at least for now, I need to make the most of it, have some fresh eyes on stuff. I don't know if it's right though.
Right. And going back to your earlier point, I feel like the worst enemy of a horror game is too much hand holding or exposition. Like you don't want a sign to say, oh, go down the corridor to your left for the next key thing.
And not too many keys as well.
Right.
That's another thing we try to limit ourselves.
Keys that aren't keys.
That's a Resident Evil pitfall. Like I'm too focused on my rooster key, my
now I've got to combine
lizard key.
Now I've got the farm key.
So true. Absolutely.
It's funny, we actually discussed it before we came here. Sorry, that I think actually Louis is, because I actually never played Resident Evil or Silent Hill as a kid. Honestly, the reason is because I grew up terrified of zombies. So I never, every time it was like, oh, this is new Resident Evil, I was like, I'm sure it's great, but I am going to be as far away from that as I possibly can. I still kind of am not great with them, to be honest. But I, in the process of doing this, I did kind of watch some stuff and read up about it. And I think it's super cool. I always knew everyone loved it, but it's kind of interesting. Louis is the real kind of focus of the that genre. I mean, I think Harry, did you play Silent Hill?
No,
I'm not sure. No. I always wanted to, but I was too scared. I was way too scared.
It's not my style of game. I'm very picky. I'm very picky in terms of what I want to play.
Oh my god, he's the worst.
He's so
worst
picky.
to try to get him to play anything. He's just like, nah.
I can't.
Like,
I can't.
Please.
They were trying to make me play Bloodborne, which I'd never played before.
That's a good
You
one.
will finish it. You will.
You guys remind me with names. Werewolf guy, first guy.
Oh,
Gascoigne.
Wait.
Oh yes.
Do you mean Gascoigne or do you mean Cleric Beast?
No. I beat Cleric Beast in Gascoigne first time, going well, and then I went for wedding at
Vicar Amelia.
Vicar Amelia. I just got frustrated. I couldn't. I just lost all my health potions. I lost all my insight, and I was just like, whatever. I'm gonna go watch a YouTube video about the lore of this game instead. That's what I'm there for.
That's what we were trying to get him to do. We were like, you need to watch. You need to learn the story of this.
Maybe you'll fare better. There's a PS1 remake of Bloodborne being worked on right now by a small.
I've seen this.
By Lilith.
I'm more interested in Bloodborne Cut.
Yeah, I know it's the community,
dream.
unsurprisingly. So yeah, she's doing some amazing work with that. Actually, I've been following that. She's she's an amazing developer in general.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely I love the Bloodborne cut. I'm so happy that she's
Yeah, I would love
as
to
well.
just play Bloodborne Kart.
Yeah. No, we secretly all do. It's I would say if you're gonna like remaster or re-release that game at some point, Sony, just you gotta tack that in there
Fingers crossed.
just for the meme of it.
It's
Mm.
funny because I think that
absolutely.
I could probably attribute that game to my actually even getting involved in all of this.
Really?
I think that was my catalyst that kind of really got me back into, because I think when I see my Spotify Wrapped, I think for this year it's going to be completely the Bloodborne soundtrack, because that's all I've been listening to.
So good.
It was the first time I really played a game in a long time, because I always felt like this when I was younger, but playing that game made me suddenly go, whoa, this is an art form. Like it's so many different ways, like music and storytelling and challenge and stuff like that. Even though I actually think I maybe prefer Dark Souls, but I never tried any of these games because I felt like I wasn't a very good gamer. And then I went back and beat these games, and now I'm just, I don't know, I feel like I sat in Miyazaki's like masterclass, basically.
It's so fun seeing a Japanese take on like a Lovecraftian eldritch kind of horror story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so neat seeing that.
Yeah, personally, I think it's the best Lovecraftian cosmic horror game to exist.
I don't even think it's just a game. I think in media, to be honest, I can't think of.
Probably,
Maybe
yeah,
I just haven't
to be
seen a
honest.
movie or a TV show, or
It's some good
apart
ones,
from the
but even
books,
then.
but Louis very much has always been interested in this kind of stuff. He's
Oh yeah, God,
he's always
I've read every Lovecraft story he wrote at least 4 times.
even read Dante's Inferno as well.
Yeah, I've read that a couple
I
times.
remember when we were growing up, I was
fun
like,
read.
cool.
Yeah, I read Lord of the Rings when I was 10. That was dry.
Jesus.
But it's still good. I mean, but I prefer the film, to be honest. It's just not as dry.
Yeah, actually true. I
that comes to
started
someone
reading
who
it,
watches it.
and there was only so many ways he could describe a candle, or I just was like, oh my God.
He just loves to talk about roads. That man was
It's
obsessed.
fair enough. Fair enough. He set the scene. What can I say?
Exactly.
When you guys are playing the old PS1 games, either a replay or for the first time, like in Jake's situation, do you say to yourselves, how can I improve on these formulas, these mechanics like tank controls, the fixed angles of the camera? What's the mindset like when you're trying to recreate those and also bring them to a more modern audience?
Well, Louis is definitely the flag holder for the tank controls thing as well.
Yeah,
Once again,
absolutely.
anything
Again,
that
it was something that I wasn't. There was a lot of things I wasn't keen on, like tank controls, and I thought they were limitations rather than hurdles to overcome. But I guess Louis, you can talk about it better in terms of why.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If anything, now we're adding camera-based controls option to it. But in my mind, it's almost so people can see why that tank controls are better. But
and once again, I'm of the opinion, let's give the option for both.
Exactly. It's fine. No one can complain at least that part, but I'm being firmly in the tank control part. But I mean, it's one of those things where, especially a lot of people will just think, why is it controlled strangely? Why is it kind of like this? But then, and once you start trying to move in camera-based mode, you start to see the reasons why, so that you don't, with a fixed camera, since the camera angle keeps changing, what's the constant? The constant is the player and the player's position. And so that's why tank controls work so well for fixed cameras. Because the one thing that will always remain the same no matter what angle is, where is the player facing? So therefore that works. Whereas camera-based, you can accidentally end up looping back and forth between 2 camera cuts very quickly because forward is in the opposite direction now. But I mean, there's ways to get around it. At least usually adding a delay to camera position, so it keeps the previous one for a couple of seconds before it swaps and stuff like that. But yeah,
I definitely did see some benefits to the tank control stuff, because it gives you more narrative control, because you decide what they see when they enter the room and how they see it and how close they are to seeing it, stuff like that. Like my favorite shot actually is the over the head shot down in the fuse room where you do the fuse puzzle. stuff like that. Even me, who was working on the game when I first saw that, was like, oh, this is like classic PS1 style. This is great. I loved that, and I really do want to. This is why I'm kind of like I do understand Luis, but then when I started trying to play it, I was like, God damn it, there was a reason. I used to hate doing this, even when it was out. I used to like. I went back and played Croc the other day.
I was going to talk about Croc. I love Croc.
Tank
And
controls.
I loved
Hey,
it.
Croc
But, oh
has
my
tank
God.
controls?
Yeah, it's third person, but tank control.
It was
For a-
hard as balls.
For a
Oh,
3D
it was so
platformer.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
3D third person.
I completely forgot.
It was tank controls.
Oh
And
my
suddenly I
god.
was taken back
clunky.
to this like rage as a
like
kid of
Bubsy.
just like Bubsy was a whole other ball game.
Bubsy was
we
awesome.
had that,
Stop.
didn't we?
Yeah, we
Bubsy.
did.
I think
I played Bubsy at some point.
Yeah,
I think we
and
all-
there's another one called like Silicon Valley or something.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
Silicone something.
Oh my God.
There was like computer chips.
But yeah, a lot of them did it,
it was
badly.
weird as fuck.
One thing
Mm.
I think in terms of like I do look back at those from a narrative and kind of cutscene and story point of view, and it's very limiting in terms of cutscenes and telling a scene in terms of, unlike now where you have deep facial expressions and you can convey stuff with big body languages and things like that. You didn't really back then. You had like PS1 level Hagrid telling you to go catch the snake and how exciting it is.
You're a wizard.
So it's the things you have to rely on more so is the actual text and camera based and how that's moving, and basic stuff in scene, as well as, if you can, and if you're making a game that can afford it, is voice acting, which you have to focus on even more and bring out even more. You take that from the Resident Evil games and their cutscenes, and you try and, like I say, you try and imagine them without any voice acting and just how dead the scene would feel. So you have to just, heavily rely on those limitations, but just double down with what you need to.
Yeah,
You get more
definitely-
creative.
Right.
Yeah, definitely one of our ideologies was always like trying to find improvements on the classics and how they work, and bringing them to a modern audience in a way that isn't too antiquated, and stuff, flaws that are, as some of them can be as charming as they can be, sometimes flaws are flaws, and it's not worth like continuing them if it's just gonna, if it doesn't add anything.
I used to get blisters on my thumbs from using the D-pad all the time. It's like there's things about it that are like, once you get back into that zone, you're like, and you actually experience it at the time, you go, there was some stuff that wasn't great about it. So it's cherry picking those moments from it that kind of bring out the best of it. And I think this is why I don't see it as we're making a PS1 game. I see it as it's inspired by. We're not looking to or trying to make Resident Evil or Silent Hill.
Right.
It started off as the kind of skeleton of it, but it's we're trying to do our own thing a bit. I mean, I'm sure that's what everybody says. But there's so much fun and to have with, like we were saying, limiting yourself, I think.
And something I've had with this is that in my mind, I've always been, I don't want to just make a PS1 game. I want to make what I remember PS1 being, not what PS1 was. Like
the rose tinted version.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've already found, people play it and they're like, oh yeah, this is just what I remember PS1 being. Also, obviously, through this, I've learned a lot about the limitations of PS1, and it is absolutely nowhere. Like it's far too like high poly and advanced in so many different ways that it could absolutely not exist on PS1. But it looks like it could. I think it's the same kind of thing that makes people look at a PS4 game that's not quite next gen and go, oh, it looks like a PS2 game. And completely forgetting that PS2 absolutely did not look that good. I mean, it looked good, it's really good, but like that still looks like a PS4 game. It doesn't.
Right.
It's not the same. So it's especially out of all of us, I'm far too much of an emulator fan. I
was just about to say, Louis is an emulation. He has any way he can find that.
Guilty.
Retroid Pocket. I've got like
if he could
Odin,
play.
Like,
if he could emulate his life, he would.
Yeah,
If he
a Steam
if he could
Deck.
put Medieval on a Sony on a like Samsung fridge or something, he would 100% do it.
Absolutely.
He'd be like, I have to get this is the fridge I have to get because look at all
Mhm.
the games I can play. I just put my SD card in.
Right.
Yeah.
Suddenly I've
exactly.
got all of these games. And it's funny because I think Louis, if he could turn everywhere he turns, he could just play all of these games.
That's my goal.
Yeah,
That's what
That's
I
the
want.
goal.
That's what
Just
I want
looks
to be.
up and
At any
he's got
moment, any time
Armored
of the
Core
day,
or something.
I could just pull out an emulator device and play. Because yeah, like you said, it's been interesting playing a lot of the older stuff again and thinking about that kind of stuff since we started and thinking about what kind of limitation they had, what they did with their limitations, especially now knowing technologically what their limitations was, and thinking about how, you know, what if I were to remake this game now, what changes would I make and how would that improve, you know? And yeah, it's made me also play a lot of PS1 games that I never played in my youth and playing now and being like, this holds up. The
What was that game that you're saying?
Front
He keeps trying to get me to play. Oh yeah, he keeps trying to get me to play this.
I had no idea about it, especially being such a big Squaresoft fan and Final Fantasy fan and Square Enix fan. Like, I can't believe it took me so long to know the existence of the Front Mission series. But
it looks good. I just have too big of a list of games to get through.
So good for a PS1 game. It looks so good for a PS1 game that it looks like a good indie studio now is making a PS1 style game. It looks that level of like, wow, how do they make it look this good back then? And it's the way it plays and stuff. It's fun to every now and then see something that was clearly pushing the envelope in a way that makes it now like still hold up compared to other ones where I'm like, it's good, but I can definitely see the age of it.
It's easy to forget that back in the day, Squaresoft were known for having the best graphics.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like it now, but they had the most cutting edge graphics at the time. I mean, you look at FF7 now, and it looks like, why are these malformed humans? Like, what are they doing? But at the time, it was just like, I can't believe I get to interact in 3 dimensions. This is crazy.
By the way, I had the same issue with FF7. They tried to get into it.
We are of different generations.
It took too long. I just wanted to know the story, and I had to do these random encounters every 5 seconds. So
it does. But this is why I love this fast forward mode now on games. I play it like once a year because it's,
same.
I don't know. That was, I don't know, I always tell this story of like, we got the game, me and Louis, I mean, wait, it came out in 97. You were born in 97. 98. So Harry was 1 when we were playing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that makes you feel I've done it.
Talking to a child.
Now you can also understand his viewpoints.
I'm like pushing 40. I was like,
that's what I mean.
Born in 98.
Well, me and Louis are like, we're touching our early 30s. I'm over 30. Louis is 30 now, but we were playing this game, and it was, we always read like not comic books, video game magazines and like PlayStation Now, or was it PlayStation Now? What was it called? I just can't remember.
There's a few.
Read everything.
PlayStation magazine was one of those.
Yeah, we used to read that a lot, and I remember we always used to have this thing where you'd read the guide before you play, or we used to. I don't know, maybe everyone else didn't. We didn't have the internet, but we would read the guide before playing every game, and then by the time we played it, we were like, yes, we can finally play it. But Final Fantasy VII was one of those, and the beginning bombing run mission we redid probably for, I don't know, 2-3 months, because we didn't know that in the elevator, the big yellow button, you could interact with it. We'd never done anything.
It was a background element. We didn't, it was like,
we'd never even considered it.
And we re-rendered, it's part of the background, and we didn't think, because it wasn't 3D, you couldn't interact with the background. It's just,
we assumed we'd walk in and then the elevator would just go, because everything else we'd played up until then would do that. And that moment when I literally remember that moment, it's like etched into my brain, where I'm just running around clicking circle, and then suddenly I just, with my big hoof hand, go donk, and then suddenly it goes, and we suddenly felt like we'd like unlocked the rest of this game, where we barely even touched the surface of it.
So many hours. It's such a
we thought the disc
of the game.
But this is the age of discs being scratched and stuff, and we were notorious.
That was like the beginning of 2001 Space Odyssey, where the monkey's going to create fire. And
it literally was. We were bouncing up and down like those apes.
We
like,
made
just
an elevator
smashing
move.
the PS. Yeah, we finally were able to, and then we got killed by the laser because it
Yeah.
said the wrong thing. But
Bad translation.
but
Attack while
from
the tail's
that,
up.
that kind of is why this game, for example, or like it just really made me realize, like, holy crap, like these games can be so much more than just Croc or something like that. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Croc, but
Right.
it was just suddenly it was like, because we were always confused because we don't just touch this game, and they were like, but there's 3 discs, like what the hell, what the hell's going on, like, and we didn't even know. I remember we played that for so long because we didn't have the internet and stuff, and we were spending ages trying to find ultimate weapons. I remember having dreams about finding it, and waking up and being like, I have a feeling it's going to be like over Cosmo Canyon. And then we'd go, and it wasn't there at the time. It was crazy, and it was such a nice time to be like. I mean, I remember it was at a time we used to like ask you, we'd be like, "Mom, can we play PlayStation, please? Please, can we play PlayStation?" And I feel like those kind of times I do miss, and PlayStation was really like ubiquitous with that feeling, I think. Yeah. We always wanted an N64, but we never got one. I still hold my mind against that.
Yeah. Although in hindsight, when we said only of like a few years ago, like, oh man, we always wanted an N64, and she was like, we didn't ask for one.
We literally did every opportunity.
I don't even remember asking her, to be fair. I feel like I expected her to know, and I was just like,
I'll tell you how I remember. I remember being an incredibly rude child. I remember being out, and she bought some clothes, and I knew exactly how much an N64 cost.
Oh my God!
I remember I remember she bought a dress or some clothes or something, and then afterwards she got it, and I just, with that money you could have got an N64. And she was so pissed off. I was so little, and I look back on it, and I'm so cringe about it. But we wanted it so bad. I just wanted it so bad. We just really wanted to play Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, yeah, I read that guide so much.
Louis, by the time we played it, Louis literally was like, okay, so go around there, do there, go there. Okay, under there, you got to get this, and this is how you get the bigger on sword and stuff like that. It was crazy.
I read the manual that intently. Like,
yeah, that was the era where
I don't know if I'm pointing to
it. It was the only way I could I just would
experience
read
the game, by reading
walkthroughs and just imagine looking at the pictures and imagine playing it, and that was the closest I could get. That level of desperation at that youth.
Yeah. But when Harry got old enough, we all used to play together, and it was always a case of like, I don't know. Sometimes it would be like I'd play stuff, and Louis would be telling me where to go, and Harry would be kind of like getting involved, going, "What's that over there? Maybe we should do that." And it was great.
I was the youngest, so I didn't get the controller.
Well,
for a long time you got the fake controller of like
the controller that wasn't plugged
in. You're playing as Navi. Don't worry about it.
Luigi players rise up.
Yeah, but we did bond over some games. I don't know do you remember playing Dark Cloud, Harry?
Oh my God,
we used to play that
Dark Cloud.
No.
It was the one where it was like a random dungeon maker, but you go back and you build a city as well. Dark Cloud and Dark Chronicle.
So good. Remember the big genie? It was a big
genie.
Purple genie.
We got to the last boss and we couldn't do it, and we did the meme of we got Dad to beat the boss for us. And he used to come in and read the cutscenes for us.
I'm gonna need you guys to reach out to your Fire Sprite folks who are now owned by Sony and have them do some sort of Dark Cloud remake at some point.
Absolutely.
Get it.
I will put my jaw on the line.
Get it on the docket. Like, guys.
Dark Chronicle was such a good sequel. There needs to be more. There needs to be more. That's a game I bought physically afterwards and spent a lot of money to have a physical version of it.
I don't even know how we came across it. I
don't know.
There's so many games in the past that I just kind of go, how did we even know to get this? I think we just used to buy stuff based on box art or something.
Probably.
Because we had some really weird shit. I remember playing like Jumping Flash 2.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that. That was a good Big Trouble in Little Moo. Yeah. That was trippy. Even just thinking about it now, it's like a really trippy first person game.
I mean, part of the weird element as well with growing up was our dad was a graphic designer, and
he still is.
He's a bit more of an artist now.
Yeah, he's an artist now, but
he does still
up until recently.
Yeah, but yeah, he would work with Sony sometimes and etc. And
But he designed
I don't know if it was
the invitation to the very first PlayStation party
in the UK, yeah,
in
and that's
the
how he
UK,
got
yeah.
it because he just got it for free. And
Yeah.
so interesting. It deepens our connection with PlayStation, if anything. But yeah, I don't know if it was through that or something. But like we would just sometimes find discs, and they look kind of like demo discs. They were like completely black, and they just had the text on it. It wasn't like handwritten or etc. It looked like an official
full of just
demo
random
disc,
games.
like a clear case. And it's like sometimes we'll be like, "What's this?" And he'd be like, "Oh."
Yeah,
And
he wouldn't have a
like-
clue. He just grabbed them and be like, I don't know, the kids are like this.
Yeah, and that's how
Right.
we like. And I remember that especially because that was one Final 7 was that, and we asked that, and he was like, "Oh, right."
Yeah,
And
he didn't remember getting it, and it just was in the box. We were like, but this is Final Fantasy 7. This is the game everyone's talking about.
Yeah, and that's how we that's how we end up with so many weird random ones like Tombi/Tomba.
Oh, Tomba's
Tomba.
a great Tomba 2, one of my favorite platformers.
We were stuck for so long because I
all
didn't know
time.
what EXP meant. And it got to a point. I didn't at this point. I was a
Love
stupid
it.
kid, and
Big
there was a
yellow
point where
buttons in EXP.
you get to the scary mansion house, and you have to get this thing, but it kept saying you need
You
more.
don't need to get it. Actually, I learned that later on down the line.
my God,
but we
I
at
had
the
no
time
idea.
we did think that. I've gone back and like 100% of it.
Oh, I've
multiple
same.
times now,
Now I've played it, but at the time we just got to this point, and it was like you need more EXP. I was like, what the hell is EXP? I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
How do I get EXP? Like, have I not been getting it since I've been playing it? And I don't know. It's just when you're a kid, you have such a different approach to playing.
I
games.
wish we could all be in that mindset. Like, have my mind be of like a teen if I approached games back then.
But not be a teenager.
Exactly.
That sucks.
It does suck. a little bit.
I feel bad we've not included Harry on this old.
It's not my era. It's not my era. I was PS2
Yeah.
era. I was while these were doing that, I was playing Simpsons Hit and Run. I was playing.
Oh,
Dragon
we
Ball
did
Z.
play
I
Hit and Run with
It's a
you.
great game.
I did want to ask,
Okay.
what do you remember playing with us? Because we did play a lot of stuff together.
I have a
Well, Dragon
distinct
Ball Z
memory
games.
of it being Christmas, and we had the new Dragon Ball Z game. And if you
Budokai.
know Budokai, yeah. And if you know
Budokai
Dragon Ball
3?
Z, there's always the bit where Goku fights Frieza. And I remember Jake doing it, and it was just failing. And I got to the point where he was very near the end of doing it, and me just being little, I just couldn't watch, so I dived behind the sofa and just was like listening to the sound effects, just praying that he did it. That's a very distinct memory.
We had so
and then,
many
and then
moments of
breaking the
that.
disc, and then breaking the disc.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What, because of that? I don't remember.
No,
that.
so
It was
I
a
got
separate one. It's
Yeah.
a separate
Oh,
one.
yeah.
This was Bugs and Taz partner in time.
Bugs and
And I
Taz.
remember that because the disc was broken. Like you had accidentally broken it or something, and then
Yeah.
you, in your just like horror of having accidentally broken,
my
were like,
God, yeah.
"I'm going to frame my brothers for this." And
Oh
then you
my
went
God,
to our
yeah.
dad and told him that we just got the disc and just snapped it in front of
Yeah,
him
we just
for some
snapped.
reason. He immediately didn't believe him at
He was
all
like,
and was like, "Why
"Bullshit."
did you break this? They wouldn't break it. Why would they?" We were like, "No, we
I
love
thought I
that
was going to get
game."
away with it. I thought I was going to get away
Oh,
with
it was so funny.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So, like I said, video games was a big part of our growing
Right.
up.
Yeah.
The thing that
I
always
get
linked
that,
us
yeah.
together. Because me and Louis' parents split when we were young, and they both went on and had kids. And Harry is, I guess, technically a half brother, but just never. It
Yeah.
feels weird even saying that because
Right.
we've grown up together. So we would see Harry and that on weekends. And then as you get older, it's less frequently and stuff. But it was always part of what we do. We get together at the weekend and we'd be like, right, this time we're gonna beat this boss on that thing, or we'd always go to Blockbuster. Do you remember we went through a period of time of like exploiting Game Station? And we would go and
play it dead quick and then hand it in.
we'd play it super quick and hand it back in. It was so bad. And be like, I didn't like it, and they'd give us the money back, or give us credit to get another game, and we'd go and beat another game.
So
God,
great.
that was bad. I feel bad now.
Well, listen,
Looking back at it.
I used to have a GameFly account. I would burn PS2 discs and put them on the hacked PS2.
With the I was gonna say
Shock.
with the PlayStation
No,
1 used to have the spring.
I had
that-
a flip top on the PS2.
Ah,
So you would
nice.
you'd open it up and it was it's still seeing the disc. So you would trick it into reading the burnt disc on the PS2. Yeah.
That's how they did it with because the PlayStation 1 they had a little spring that you'd put it on, and this is how you'd play the like Japanese Dragon Ball Z games. But
yeah, and now I'm waiting for a Steam Deck to put Duck Station on it one day to
that's
play.
Louis.
Oh yeah,
There we go. The emulator master.
Absolutely. That's the only reason I'm getting Steam Deck. Is to
Same here.
Fill it with emulators. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait.
But you already have your handheld.
I know.
I don't care. I need more.
You don't understand, Jake. It has to be on all the devices: your phone, your Switch, your laptop.
Yeah.
Greed.
It can play it.
How many copies of Final Fantasy VII do you have, Louis? Because you have it on everything that you can get it on, right?
Yes. Yes.
A lot.
The answer to that.
Pretty
The answer
much.
is yes. Any version, old Final Fantasy VII on
You had it on your
PC,
phone as well,
new
right?
Final Fantasy VII on Steam. I got it on my phone. I got it on my iPads. I got it on PSP. I got it on obviously PS1. Got it on. I didn't have a PS3 actually, so not PS3.
Yeah, PS3 was a period of time
connected
where I
to
was
the PSP one,
at
so
uni.
technically, I guess I kind of did. You know, I got it on PS4, got it on Switch, and every time I got these, I've completed them as well. I'm completely fine with it.
Always, it's an excuse to play it again.
14, 15 times. I need help, but
So just to bring things back and round out the conversation, Lunar Effect. What is the your game.
Yeah.
What's the trajectory? What's the sort of roadmap for this bad boy? Is there like a release date in mind?
No, we're quite far from that.
What does that look like? Well, I understand, but what's the progress level so far, and when can we expect to play this masterpiece?
So it's something that it's again, like we were saying, it's currently in pre-production. We're still working out the finer edges of what we want this game to be.
partly because I mean, we already had a good plan when we released the demo, but if anything, how well the demo was received and how much even we after watching other people play it and seeing it, how much it kind of inspired us more. It kind of creeped up the scope a little bit more.
Creep is it like ran up the scope, it sprinted out the scope.
It just felt like we had something special, and it was like, okay, that definitely did extend things.
We had so much fun working on it as well. But Harry, trajectory wise,
in terms of we're in pre-production, we're still kind of planning where we exactly want this to go, and in the actual size of it. To be honest, we know it's going to be much bigger, but we don't know exactly how big so far. But once that's all figured out, we're hoping to then go into development, and hopefully when we're around about that time, we can start sharing some more information.
Sounds great.
And let you know and see where we're at.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's it's funny, we usually do the rapid fire portion of the show to learn more about the guest, but I've learned more about you.
It's a very Woodhouse thing,
right? Exactly.
You don't choose to learn about us, we decide that you're going to learn about us.
I got that. So I will still ask you guys a few questions, so
right, quick round then.
Let's get to a very rapid fire. Okay.
Ready.
All right, so let's see. The three of you are trapped in a horror universe. Would you rather it be Resident Evil or Silent Hill?
Oh shit! I was about to say Silent Hill, but then I realized
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
Yeah.
As much as I hate
Resident
zombies,
Evil.
Silent Hill is way too fucked
It's
up.
basically legitimate
Way too
hell.
fucked up.
Also,
Yeah,
there was a lot of the world of Resident Evil that is not infected by zombies. So.
Yeah, I'd be there chilling. Just
Exactly.
Oh God,
Just
that's
don't
so
go to
bad.
Raccoon
Okay.
City
Cool.
Yeah,
So
or weird, creepy European.
stay away from the police.
villages.
the the three of you are now plunked down into Resident Evil. Who amongst the three of you? Who's the Chris, Jill, Claire, Leon? Who's the Ada Wong, Wesker, and who's the Brad?
Mate, I'm zombie number 5. I'm dead.
I've already given up.
Are you
'cause I'm
all
too
Brads?
scared.
No, man.
I can't remember who's who. I remember the name Wesker, but I don't think I'm a Wesker.
Okay, so
No,
Louis, who would I be?
Yeah, actually, I think Louis needs to answer.
Alright, go
this.
on, Louis,
Louis,
you
who
tell
are
us.
we?
no, it's difficult partly because there's so many characters and there's only three of us. But
well, who's like
I'll be Jill.
Who's like your main lead, like hero character? who's like a little side mysterious, are they a villain, are they not situation, and who
I feel like I'll
gets,
be the maybe villain.
and who
probably.
who gets laid out within 5 minutes of the game.
Jake gets laid out in
Jake
5 minutes.
gets laid
because I'll
out.
give
He's just
up.
too scared. Too scared
I'm
of
way
zombies.
too scared. I
You
wouldn't be
just-
able to do anything.
Absolutely.
So I'd be
I'd actually kill myself. I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. The idea of getting like eaten by zombies is just like, ugh. Like, nah. I'd rather not be conscious for that.
I'll be Leon though. I'll take Leon.
Well, I guess
Oh,
I'll probably
Leon.
be
Yeah,
Wesley.
Leon's cool.
Yeah.
I'm probably
It's like
far
me.
most likely to end up.
You are actually you are Wesker. You've got that kind of like delightful.
Yeah,
awkwardness
Louis
to
is
you.
Wesker.
So he caused a zombie outbreak, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What?
but he's like, but it makes sense, don't you see?
Mm.
Actually, I haven't played enough of them to make real comments on it. That's my problem. Okay.
Louis and Harry, you each get a phone call in the middle of the night. Jake's been arrested. What crime has Big Brother committed?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't be shocked. Done. I don't know, nothing major. It's
what
like
haven't
just-
I done?
Yeah.
What have you done?
If
It would be
I-
something
what I did-
really dumb.
Yeah.
Probably.
Urinate in public or something. I don't know.
Mm,
Nah.
Mm,
Or I don't know. Just international drug trade. That would be exciting though.
mhm.
mm.
Just that or something.
Yeah, maybe it would be the
reckon-
opposite. It would actually be like really surprisingly like intense, like part of a drug cartel or something. Be like,
I'm
"Oh,
really
shit."
happy to hear that's what you think, because to me, I imagine that would happen if for me just going, fuck you, copper."
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Assault a police officer because
Someone
they
would,
told you to
or
stay
some copper
still or
would just be a
something.
dick to me, and I wouldn't be able to shut up. And
Yeah,
I'd
that's
get
the
myself.
answer.
I would get
That's the
myself
answer,
in
yeah.
trouble.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer.
Let's see. So Harry's
International drug cartel. Nice.
Harry's the youngest of the bunch, correct?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
Louis and Jake, what is the dumbest way that Harry's ever injured himself?
Oh my god, this is
Oh,
so easy.
easy.
This is easy. This is so
Easy.
easy.
Oh, I was tell this story to my wife recently. Again, I think I've already told her before, but I can't
Go on
stop
then.
telling it.
This is the perfect question for
Shall I
Harry.
answer it? Or shall I say it? Or
Oh, I think we all have different like
all right, I'll do my.
Okay, yeah, I would say, yeah.
interpretations of what
Yes.
happened.
So I was very little. And,
how old were you? You must have been like 7 or 8 or something.
No. Like
Younger?
five?
No,
Five?
yeah.
About 5 or so.
I don't
And-
know.
Or something around there.
This
I
is the
can't
part
remember.
where our parents are being like, "Of course it was this." So
Who knows?
for us,
But
it's a blur.
I was absolute big fan of Superman, and loved it. I used to watch the like old animated, like the 1960s, the classic ones. And I had a Superman outfit, and I used to wear that all the
So
time.
hilarious.
And I was kind of jumping, and there was one day when I was just jumping around the living room. I had it on. I was like, yeah, I'm jumping from seat to seat. I'm Superman. I'm flying everywhere, and I thought I was Superman. I believed it in all my heart. And the TV was playing Superman at the time, and I was like, Superman's strong. I can lift that TV. We're not
This is
not
a
talking
thin
about
TV.
flat TVs. We're talking about the big ones with the big back bulb.
CRT, yeah.
That's the one.
Oh,
those
God.
ancient stuffs. And I was like, yeah, I'll lift that. So give it a go. And immediately I just buckle under the weight and drop it straight onto my leg, breaking the thigh bone of it.
Was it one leg or both legs?
One leg.
Because the part
completely
of
gone.
it is that he the
Oh,
reason I asked that
Lord.
question is because he had to wear a cast on both of his legs
Yeah.
and suddenly had to
Yeah.
revert into crawling to get around anywhere.
Yeah.
So he was
so
like,
weird.
he was young but old enough to not be crawling. And I remember we came over for Christmas and suddenly we'd come in and be like, "Hey everyone," and then Harry would just be like across the floor.
like a zombie that lost the bottom half of its legs. Or
We were
something.
like, "What the hell
Yeah.
happened to him?" We'd be like, "Oh, the idiot tried to lift a TV." We were like,
It's a perfect question. Don't know how
the
you got that
cast
one.
was like bow-legged. That's probably why
yeah,
he could stand
because it
up.
went like that. So he couldn't stand because he'd be like, "Dig, dig." And he just had this kind of like hole so he could go to the toilet, and he'd be like, "Need to go to the toilet."
So
It
weird.
was
Yeah, there's your answer.
wow, and I think that's the only real injury you've really
Yeah,
had,
really.
right?
You're lucky you got that one.
I used to drink too much Vimto as well. That's the only other thing.
That actually makes for some really good enemy design right there. I'm just saying. The idea.
Not
oh
wrong,
my
yeah.
god.
Oh, it's the cast.
Something that shouldn't be crawling around is crawling
The
around. Yeah.
shuffler. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Crawling
so
away in
fun.
shame. Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny that you asked that.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, that's
Perfect.
easy.
Don't even need to discuss. We know what that is.
Mhm. What is a recent horror game that had a huge impact on you? We can go with
I think I kind of already said for me it was
Mm.
Yeah,
Bloodborne.
blah, blah.
100%. But I know I have this beautiful ability now to play all these games that everyone's already played for the first time again. Well, not again. For me, it's the first time. So I'm always talking about stuff that everyone's already played for ages. But for me, 100% Bloodborne. It was just, it was scary as fuck. When I first played it, I couldn't get past the first area. And I'd never played any Souls game or anything like that. And I got to the first bit where, I was struggling like hell because I tried to take on the guy with the axe and stuff. And I went around the corner and there's this bonfire of all these people. And I literally just went, nope, I'm not playing that. This is ridiculous. This is just too much. At the time, I don't know anymore, but I was smoking weed at the time. And my heart was going like crazy. I didn't know what was, I just was like, I can't. My friend that I'd worked with had been like, you have to play this game. This is one of the best games I've ever played in my life. You're going to absolutely love it. And I gave it back the next day. I was like, I couldn't fucking play it. I couldn't do it. And then afterwards, Louis was always telling me about the lore because he knows how much I love that stuff. And then I watched this playthrough, the lore playthrough, this Maximilian Dude guy. He's
he's a good
his
YouTuber,
lore
yeah.
playthrough. And watching that, I suddenly was like, for one, I was like, this lore is insane. Like the story is crazy. It's scary, but it's like exciting and it's trippy and it's so good. And also watching it made me realize how I'd been approaching the game completely wrong and on how to play it and stuff. And recently I think since Christmas, actually, just this last Christmas, I played them all for the first time. I'm currently on Sekiro and it's way harder than everything else.
It
is, yeah. Annoyingly so, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it doesn't feel like a Souls game. It feels like a Tenchu game. But
you got a few months for Elden Ring comes out, so just get cracking.
Oh god, don't start with
I'm
these
booking a week
Elden Ring.
off work for Elden Ring.
Yeah, a full week he's booking out.
Oh, god.
Yeah, I'm taking a whole week. I have to.
I love it.
Louis, what was your one?
I think
I'm wondering what your one was.
For me, there's been some good ones. But I think the one that's most engaged with me and made me really, think a lot about horror, inspire me a lot. Because that's one of the main things. When a horror game can really inspire me, then I know it's making a big impact. And that was Kitty Horror Show's Anatomy. That game really it's
a
so
short
interesting.
Game, but, yeah.
And it really in some ways inspired me about thinking about what horror can be without just being like combat as well. Thinking about how it presents itself.
Mine's similar in terms of like, it's not really, well, it is a horror, but it's not really a horror. I only revisited it recently, which is Outer Wilds.
I was actually thinking the DLC of Outer Wilds was possibly.
It's on my list.
That's a good choice.
So,
yeah,
because it's very much again like what we're wanting to go for, very cosmic horror, very like what we're
wanting to. Is it cosmic horror?
Yes, totally. You need to play it. This is one
I'm literally sucked into Final Fantasy 14 at the moment.
Oh god, you're done. You are
done. I can't get out of it. I'm going to do Endwalker, then I'm going to do Elden Ring, then I'm going to be a free man. Anyway,
sure.
But I'll have to play Outer Wilds.
But yeah, Outer Wilds, because it's that, and also I was going to bring up earlier, but I think it's a really good one for me. Focusing on narrative is there's no hand holding in that. You're let loose, and you have to figure it all out yourself, and that's part of what makes that game so special to me. Is that self-discovery, and you feel like you did it, and all of those kind of aspects, and also just no spoilers, obviously, for where it kind of goes, but just the absolute all-encompassing nature of what it becomes and what it's trying to tell in such a unique way. So
it's funny you say that because that's how I feel about Bloodborne. Because it does give you this world. Yeah, but
I run out of health potions, and then I just
it gives you this way to go, except it very much doesn't hold your hand. But if you're describing it like that, then I'll have to try.
You'd like it.
Yeah,
Like it.
it's really interesting, especially from a game maker's perspective, because I admire them for their bravery of having the game so much be based on like your knowledge, and there's so little handholding that you could just accidentally complete the game in 5 minutes.
I heard this is that game. I heard about
this.
That
game.
Yeah. Like if you just know what you're doing, you could discover stuff way before you're supposed to, before the right story beats, because it feels so much like you want players to like enjoy the story as you are telling it. But
that's cool.
Just
I like
how
that.
much they bared themselves to just be like, and it's all there, and anytime in any order, they try to nudge you in some.
I like that.
But
that sounds cool. I'm gonna have to play it.
Yeah, you definitely should. It's a really interesting game, and especially and with the DLC recently being a lot more spooky, it definitely fits nicely into that because it scared the shit out of me. Especially,
I'm not very good at ironically making a horror game. I'm not very good at getting scared.
You can turn off the spooks. They've got a setting which makes it not scary.
Oh, less scary, but
less scary.
It's definitely less scary.
I'm about to embarrass myself again. Even though it's too scary.
Well, that's the other interesting thing. I am very easily scared a lot. I'm really, really easily scared by things.
Actually, that's true.
I've gotten a lot better, but I used to barely be able to play any horror games, or even now I struggle with a lot of horror games. But I also found a weird fascination with horror as well, and horror games. And I can't remember where the quote was from. I think it might have been some of the people involved with Silent Hill. But I remember hearing a quote saying they specifically would hire people who got easily scared because it's the people who
to be scared.
Yeah, they know what's scary. The people who know horror too well and don't get scared by anything, all they can kind of do is just emulate the tropes of like, this is what the horror is, instead of being like, it's like Junji Ito. He's such a mild-mannered, terrified man. But like the reason why he can do it is because he's just all the interviews with him and how do you come up with this scary thing, he just goes, I had a nightmare about it and it scared the absolute shit out of me.
Yeah.
So
that's where some of the best scary stuff has come from.
I think that's why the world needs like a Kojima-led horror game, because that man is a self-proclaimed like wussy.
Absolutely, yeah.
The idea of what a horror game looks like to him in a grander scope than what PT was, I think the world deserves that vision.
Oh yeah,
my
one request is that he gets a screenwriter, someone else.
Oh yeah, stuff. He needs a handler. He needs
he needs someone like I am with Harry.
Kojima Wrangler.
Listen, because it's like a George Lucas scenario, where it's like, I know best. Let me do my shit. It's like, bro, you can't really write.
You're a bulldozer.
Well.
Yeah, slow down.
Yeah. me and Louis have had many long, vocally loud conversations about Kojima and Death Stranding, and
oh my god,
we both have very different takes on that game.
I think the second that Princess Beach joke.
Oh my god!
I
was already lost way.
I loved it.
I was lost way.
I absolutely loved it.
I mean, I loved it too, but it's like, Kojima. That's such a Kojima thing to do in a game.
Yeah, I think that's part of the difference as well. I can like, I'm not sitting there being like everything he writes is magic, but I'm like, but I love how dumb and goofy he gets.
Yes,
like that line. I was like, oh my god, that's so terrible. I love it. I love this game.
I felt so bad for Norman Reedus having to say it out loud. Like I felt like he must have read that.
He earned his paycheck with that line.
Like, wait,
just say it.
Is this a typo or something? Just into the mic, please.
Do it.
Into the mic, please, Mr. Reedus. And also that game actually, I think, made me realize I don't know if I really like famous actors in games, because I just kept being like, oh look, it's Mads Mikkelsen.
Right.
It just felt like, now Mads Mikkelsen is saying stuff. And I love Mads Mikkelsen. I think he's a great actor, but there was it felt like someone was just like, oh, Mads is talking to himself in the corridor. Quick, go get the camera. Because he just is that like, and now I'm going to give this speech.
I've platinumed that game, and I'm realizing now I'm having trouble remembering the main character's name and Mads Mikkelsen's name, because I always name them.
Yeah,
I always say Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen. So that's kind of a good point. I don't mind it, but I can see what you mean.
Yeah, I think he needs a decent like screenwriter, editor,
Wrangler.
and also like stop star fucking. Like I know he loves movies a lot.
Yeah.
But like Kiefer Sutherland
This
as
is what I said.
Saltz
I said
as
make a
Big
movie
Boss
if you
is
want to
like,
make a movie.
yeah, just make a film, dude. Make a movie.
He's very much like me, I
Do
think.
that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with Quentin Tarantino. Since his famous editor died, he hasn't made anything nearly as good.
Right.
And it's because part of making something really good is having someone else coming in and going, nope, what the hell were you thinking? And putting it together into something coherent. And I think if he could have his own version of, I can't remember what her name was, but if he could have his own version of that, I think because I loved all of the Metal Gear Solid games. I didn't play PT again. I don't think I had the console at the time, and 2 scary games, so I just didn't play it.
Right.
What else did he do? Is he just done?
I mean, he did a zombie.
Unless you
zombie
go back to
enders.
Snatches and
Also,
stuff.
Yeah, he did a
actually.
zombie thing. Yeah.
Psychonauts and Snatcher. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, a police.
Yeah,
knots.
I mean-
Sorry, I said Psychonauts.
Police, yeah,
Police
Psychonauts.
knots.
I was going to say,
Police
I was
knots.
like,
Very
sorry,
different.
so sorry. Police knots.
Police knots.
I don't want to like
Police cops.
All right, speaking of making things good that were bad, think of, is the last question, think of a horror franchise that didn't do so well or is absolute dog shit, and you're now given the chance to work on it to make it better. Which IP would that be?
Saw.
No.
Wow.
You can do that. I'm not gonna. It's too
Yeah.
No, I'm
gory.
not gonna say.
Yeah,
No,
there was
but for the
some,
concept.
But I guess if you make it good, I guess
You can make a
maybe
game.
you
You can make a good game if the film didn't exist.
The games were awful.
well, there
The
were
games
2
absolutely-
shitty
No,
Saw
but I-
games. Yeah.
Yeah, I
they
know,
are
but
notoriously bad.
But if you took the concept and there was never a film, I think you could make something.
Yeah,
cool.
that's what I'm going for. It's very much
Okay.
that concept of competing games, like recently came out like Squid Game, and making it along those lines
Dude,
of that kind of
There,
concept.
Fall Guys meets Squid Game. That has to be a new game.
That's
that
a good
comes
one.
out at some
I
point.
There's
saw
a
a-
reason why people are playing it in like Roblox and
I
stuff
saw a great
now.
YouTube video of somebody who took the I can't remember which game it was from Squid Game, but put the Fall Guy sound effects over the top of it with the music in the background.
Oh, I need to see
and all
it.
the
You need
like
to link
little
that
like
to me.
noises of Fall
Oh,
Guys.
that's golden.
That sounds
yeah.
amazing. I need to find that. 'Cause that sounds
I'll send it
amazing.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a horror franchise that I know of.
Mothman
because I
Prophecies,
just
maybe. But is that a
forget
horror
not bad.
film? That was like a thriller. That would be a cool. I always wanted that to be way better. Mothman Prophecies. What else was there? God damn it, I can't even
especially in
remember.
terms of like game series, I can't remember.
Are we talking games
my
or just
mind-
like
Yeah, we could
My
do
mind-
either or. Either or.
IPs, I believe. Just
Yeah,
like
it might. Yeah, I think for me it'd be easy to think with films or TV, mainly because like when it comes to games, like all the bad ones, my mind just blanked out. All I can remember,
remember
like,
the
oh,
name
that
of-
one, but it's good. So
I remember scenes from it, but I don't remember the names of the films.
You didn't play like Martian Gothic on PS1 or Countdown
Oh, God.
Vampires on PS1?
Oh, I do know those ones. That's a
Wait,
good
what? I
point.
don't-
Yeah,
Never heard of
those ones would be.
Is
interesting.
Bubsy a horror? Bubsy 3?
I mean, it
in
feels
many
like-
ways, it
Existential.
is. Yeah.
100%. I have nightmares about it.
Hmm.
This is hard. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd love to
I
make a
think-
retro game of the Lighthouse.
Oh,
Like a
you
point and
love
click
the Lighthouse.
adventure of
I still
that.
need to play that. Play that.
Under the
God
Skin.
damn it. I'm getting
Make
my
that.
medias mixed up. I need to
You need to
watch
watch-
that.
Yeah, Lighthouse is
I
amazing.
need to watch
I've got
Lighthouse.
loads.
Yeah, there's so many good.
Yeah, but that's not a horror, is it? Is Lighthouse a horror? Or-
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, I
Again,
need to watch it. That's
Yeah.
See, I love horror films. I've always struggled with horror games because it's so much more intense when you're the protagonist in it, whereas you're watching a protagonist is something completely different.
Mhm.
But man, I can't.
Gremlins.
Gremlins.
guess.
Gremlins is
Gremlins.
great though. I don't know what
That's
you're
a Christmas
talking
film,
Mm.
isn't it?
about.
Yeah, Christmas horror film.
Well, if
Goosebumps?
anything,
I don't know.
actually, if anything, I mean, to be fair, not that they did it badly, but like in any possible way, I could engineer the comeback of Dino Crisis.
Oh my
yeah,
god.
Dino Crisis.
Yeah,
Would
well,
be- I
That
mean,
was so
listen,
good.
The last
third one's
game was
terrible.
shit. Exactly.
exactly.
There was
Enough.
a movie?
That-
This fits. Yeah.
Wait, there was a movie?
No,
is
there
there
was
a movie?
there was a
Game.
third game that was shit.
Yeah.
And then there was like
Oh,
those.
it's in space
There was
and-
like Dino Stalker, like some FPS spin-off
Oh, no.
series they did with like a gun accessory.
That was a game that I watched Louis play, and I thought it was really cool because I could deal with that because it didn't have zombies; it was dinosaurs. It was like Resident Evil, but it was dinosaurs.
So there it is.
Yeah.
I changed my.
Crisis.
I should have said
Oh.
the thing.
The Thing.
Oh, the
The
Thing.
Thing. Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course.
Thing.
The game was
There
good.
we
The
go.
game was really good for that.
Mm.
I
I
never
think
played that.
it was great in terms of you
Man,
Man,
had
I'm
allies.
coming
You
away
could,
from this realizing I have to watch and play a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
the thing's great.
Yeah,
it
you
was a
do.
game where you had allies and like NPC allies.
It's
that you
Among
brought
Us,
with you.
basically.
Yeah, but literally,
Before there was
they
Among
come
Us,
with you.
yeah.
They come
Oh.
with you. You can make them heal you, and you give them weapons and everything. But there's like, if you turn your back on them, you turn back and they're normal, but they may have suddenly got infected, and at the worst moment possible,
Oh.
they change into the beast.
It's
and start
such a good
going-
film, like,
Mhm.
and just story in general. I think I would work with you on that game
I'd
because
love that game.
I
Guys.
was about to say.
I said I
Guys,
wanted to make Dead
guys.
Space. But okay.
The Thing.
Finish this game
So
first.
good. Oh, what was it called? What's that fucking film? This gets to mix both of my genres
on.
that I like, horror and sci-fi. Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Event
Mm-mm-mm.
Horizon.
That's a good
That's
one.
a fucked up film. That's
I
so
fucking
weird.
love that movie.
Mm.
It's
Same as
so
Icarus.
weird. Hmm?
So
Same as
goddamn
Icarus.
good.
I haven't seen Icarus. I don't even know of Icarus. I know of Icarus, but not the movie that you're
Yeah.
specifying.
I'll send it to you later.
Yeah, please do.
So
Okay.
that was a short answer.
Yeah, I think we agree on The Thing. I think The
Right.
Thing would be
The thing
sick.
is probably the most overall. I think I'd definitely do that.
It just
No.
we collectively have a love of and what's cosmic horror. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fear of the
it's
unknown.
just
You should watch Sunshine. Is another good like.
I need to watch
I was
that.
wrong. It's not called
Space
Icarus. It's
horror
called
film.
Sunshine. I don't know why. I thought
Okay,
it-
I've always wanted to watch this.
I don't know
I've
why
always
it's
wanted to
Sunshine's
watch
great.
There it is. Yeah.
That's the one
Is
I
that
meant.
is that cosmic horror kind of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man, I need to watch it then.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
know I
It
need
is
to watch it,
definitely
but I just never got
psychological.
around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
if
always,
anything.
I always mix those ones like that, Event Horizon and Sunshine and stuff. I
Yeah.
always like in my mind, I'm always like, is it that one or is it?
Yeah,
But
there was-
Icarus, like too close to the sun, and I thought
No,
that was
I mean,
weird.
it
They're all
makes
very
sense.
similar. They're all very
The early
similar
2000s was a hotbed for this kind of like sci-fi kind
Horror.
of Independence Day, all of this kind of stuff.
Right.
Mm.
What there was, I
Got
can't
me
remember this.
excited
There's loads of
for
them, and I don't know the name.
Anyway.
of it.
Dead
What was
Space
it?
again.
Oh, that's the
Dead
same thing I
Space.
said I'd make if I could, like
Mhm.
remake if it didn't exist. But yeah.
Oh, Dead Space. Love that
I
game.
never played it.
All right, gents.
Surprise,
This-
surprise.
This has been a lot of fun. I could go on
Yeah.
about horror and all this shit till the end of
This is why we struggle with our
time.
we have weekly meetings.
How
and
do you
this
find
is why
time
we
to work
struggle.
when
We
this is what
don't.
you guys
It takes
talk
about
about?
2-3 hours each.
Yeah, I can
every,
imagine.
every weekend.
How do you make a
ends up
game
like this.
when you're like, okay, meeting's over? It's
Great
like,
effort.
we got nothing done.
We don't do anything in the meetings, that's for sure.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when this game eventually comes out, where can our listeners follow you guys for the progress, wish list on Steam? Give us all the social media plugs.
I think Louis the master for this
All
Louis.
stuff.
All the
Plug it
spiel.
Yeah. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at Negative Entity, not entities. Unfortunately, that was not.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
We're gonna
That-
buy him out one day.
That
but-
must sting
Yeah.
a little bit.
It was so annoying, especially because it's not taken anywhere else. Just
Mhm.
Twitter.
We'll
Which is
find it.
annoying. But yeah, that's a good place to follow progress. It's just partly it's a nice, easy place to
Got
to
it.
be able to post that kind of stuff. We have a bit of a splash domain, the-lunar-effect.com. Is
Rolls off the tongue.
I know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, once again, without the hyphen, that costs a lot more money. But that's from there. That's a good place to find some of the sort of parts, like the Steam page, because we are on Steam, Lunar Effect. You can play the demo that we've got up there now. You can also find us on itch.io. Also, Negative Entities should be pretty easy to find. Once again, you can find the demo there. You can follow us either of those places. Do indeed. Please wish list again.
Yes, Steam is a good place to send
Yeah.
us some love.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. These found people seem to have a bit of a market.
Yeah. Just a fraction of the
Just,
market.
yeah,
Just a little bit.
just an iota, you know.
Yeah,
All right, gents. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fucking fun. Seriously.
Thank you.
Any chance to geek out about horror? I'm here
Oh.
for it. Every day of the goddamn week.
That's especially in
Yeah.
October. A month
Yeah,
long.
Louis is
This
obsessed
is
with Halloween.
our month, guys. This is it.
Yep.
Our
Mm.
month. Well, until next time, listeners, thank you for listening. And thank you, Louis, Harry, and Jake. You guys are awesome. The game looks great, and I can't wait for it to come out at some point. And any future Thing or Dino Crisis remakes, we'll get on that at some point. And
Watch
as-
this space.
right. And as always, listeners, please be excellent to each other and don't lift TVs. They're too heavy to lift.
You are not Superman.
You are not Superman.
You are you are not Superman. And with that, take care.